Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Does the NHS in Scotland not learn anything? They're currently having a tribunal for Sandy Peggy, the nurse who called out the fact that men were changing in the female dressing room. She didn't like that. And when confronted, the NHS said, well, if women don't like men exposing themselves in the women's changing room, the women have to go elsewhere. This is now going to this tribunal, and if Peggy loses this tribunal, there'll be a court case launched the same day. This comes hot on the heels of legal advice to the NHS, the prison service, the police, the SNP government in general, all public bodies saying that the law is very clear. Women's safe spaces relate to the sex of a woman, not any supposed gender. And yet here we are, having got all that and knowing that there's going to be test cases as well as possibly class actions against the NHS. NHS Scotland have now issued a new missive, a memo, if you will, to go round, demanding that staff calling bearded transgender colleagues women if they want to identify that way. So you can sit there with a beard fuller and more luxuriant than I have. But if you insist on being called a woman, they've got to address you as a woman. This is going to end in massive lawsuits. NHS Education for Scotland quietly scrapped the training module, which urged staff to make sure that they use the right pronouns, but they've kept it in the memo, saying if a man who pretends to be a woman and who presents as a man because of his beard, but still insists you address him as a woman, then you are to address him as a woman. They are forcing your speech. They are fascists. And they're demanding this. They're demanding that biological males who have facial hair, you call them a woman if that's what they want. It is absolute clownland, isn't it? It is absolute gender identity madness by a lunatic regime. And these training materials are still there. They may have withdrawn them, but they still exist. And the memo's still there. They're drafted and went out. Now, should the Sandy Peggy case be lost? Well, here's the thing. If she wins it, then that's over. Men can't change in dressing rooms assigned to women. If she loses, the court case will go through, and the court case will be won because of so many laws in place, but the 2010 Equality Act, the European Convention on Human Rights, and so forth, Health and Safety at Work Act, there are so many different things working in their favour that the NHS Scotland will lose. And then they lose that. They have this one on the books, huge class action, and there's tens of thousands of women that will just join in and say, well, no, we've been forced to do this. We've been forced to call men women, etc. And that's it. And then that's the end of the NHS in Scotland. They'll have to fork out on this class action that the government can't afford. And yet their advice, and it is the government's advice, is to still do this, even though they've received legal advice saying, don't. What a bunch they are. They really are creating their own problems. And it's good. And I hope it comes back and bites them on the arse and bankrupts each and every one of them. Women of Scotland, stand up for your rights against these mad, delusional men. Thank you very much. Speak soon. Goodbye.